Good morning. As we continue to provide virtual instead of in-person Sunday services to protect our members and their family and friends, the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Waynesboro welcomes you all, including and especially our LGBTQ community, to today's program. Though we miss all of you and hope to meet those who decide to visit us in the future, we come together today in this space at this time to explore the topic of prayer, meditation, and affirmation. How are these different? How may we use them in a different way than many of us did as children or in other faith traditions? Personally, I have used two of these at different times in my life. As a member of a more mainline faith community, prayer was the center of my experience and is something I grew up learning about and using myself. I've used meditation since that time and use it now as a means of thinking about my place in the universe, my community, and about my family and friends. As for affirmation, I look forward to hearing about this today, as I'm not sure about the meaning for faith communities or for me. As we move into the service today, I invite you to virtually light the chalice with us. Lighting the chalice is a symbol of our coming together as a faith community. Our Community Knows No Boundaries by Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls, or for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here, together in space. I see you, I hear you, I love you, and I light this chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us together, here and now.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell a story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace when our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place.
Does this shutdown and this illness causing it seem worse now psychologically than it did back in December and January when the graph of new cases nationwide was at its peak? If so, you are not alone. We thought we were farther along the path toward being past it and then find ourselves right back in the middle of it. A few days ago, Mary Mannix, the CEO of Augusta Health, put out a video warning us locally of the risks and the need for extra care. She mentioned that the word from Johns Hopkins University is that no community should be opening back up if they have a testing positivity rate of 5% or greater. The World Health Organization says that a community should have a testing positivity rate below 5% for 2 weeks before reopening. Mannix reported that the testing positivity rate in Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro is nowhere near 5%. 31%, more than 6 times that maximum. She also reported that Augusta Health Hospital has added an ICU unit and is using areas of the hospital buildings that formerly were not for patient care at all, but are now in that service. And even so, with all that expansion using space otherwise not used, the hospital is at capacity, with every ICU bed filled and more COVID patients than at any time previously in the pandemic. COVID care means that patients with heart attacks and strokes and other immediately life-threatening conditions might have to wait for a room or even be transferred to another part of the Commonwealth for treatment. In other words, this is not something simple and it's not something to ignore. This is serious stuff. Meanwhile, though we appear not yet to have reached the peak of new infections, we do believe that we are close to the peak. But even once we turn the corner, hospitalizations are likely to continue to climb, and the rate of decline from the peak of this surge could happen in the same sort of time span that it's taken to get up to the peak, or it could move slower and we have to wait and see. And the wait and see adds to our stress. Remember when we talked about flattening the curve? That is essential now to saving lives when we don't have any extra space in our hospitals. We have a way to lessen the worst effects. The tools we've always had: masking, hygiene, distancing, avoiding crowded indoor spaces, and getting vaccinated, especially getting vaccinated. We here in this fellowship have done our part on vaccines with nearly all our members and adult attendees vaccinated already. Among our members, some are volunteering at the hospital and some are volunteering in vaccination clinics. It is easy for us to be angry at medically able people who haven't been vaccinated yet. I often feel that exact anger. But despite those feelings, we are morally, we are our siblings' keeper. We are the person charged with looking out for the well-being of our neighbors, even if they have not done all they could or should to keep themselves and others safe. Let us hold those sick with COVID and those whose other illnesses cannot be treated as well or as quickly because the hospital is at capacity, and let us hold them in our hearts. Let us hold the families of those who are ill in our hearts. And let us hold our healthcare providers and essential workers in our hearts in this time of crisis.
Well, I'm sitting here in silence, sending people smiles and realizing when we send out love, it keeps on rising. So I choose to close my eyelids to send positive vibes into every living being, from the ocean to the skies. And as I look at all the crisis, I realize that I just can send my love and prayers that will make it through this virus. To me, this is all priceless, to transform all the violence through sacrifice and trying, sitting on this cushion silent. May all beings be happy, peaceful and non-violent. May not one being suffer in their minds, even the tyrants. May all souls find alignment with their hands, their hearts and minds. And may all of us keep walking and persevere in these times with love.
Ooh, I'm sending prayers out to you. I'm sending prayers out to you. I'm sending prayers out to you. Prayers out to you, sending prayers out to you, sending prayers out to you. Oh, sending prayers out to you, sending prayers out to you, sending prayers out to you. Oh, sending prayers out to you. Sending prayers out to you. Sending prayers out to you.
Our words of prayer this morning are by Matthew Rosen. You matter. There is no one like you, never will be again, from the birth of the earth to its outermost end. You, an eager shout, a sacred yes, that moves your flesh, your bone, your breath. You. We refer to you by your pronouns, she, he, sie, she, they. You are whole and okay, gracefully teaching your truth and your way. You cannot be forgotten. We cherish you so. Your voice and your hands can do more than you know. You see old things anew. You turn them and test them. Your wonder exhausts our old words to express them. You speak and lay bare all you dig up and hold aloft from the dust of conventions grown cold. You upend every rock and pursue every glimmer and give a new name to each sparkle and shimmer. You chart out new paths, go beyond our horizons, new friendships, new stories, your hope always rising. You, welcome and wanted, whatever your skin, wherever the neighborhood you were born in. You play across fences that keep us divided. Old walls become weak where your love is ignited. You call us to kindness and questions, reminding the life of our living is found in the finding. You, there is no one like you, there will never be again, from the birth of the earth to its outermost end. You matter, you do. We'll keep learning with you. Now stand on our shoulders, see what you can do. We come together each week with our personal joys and sorrows. Sometimes we share them and sometimes we hold them quietly in our own hearts and just trust that our community knows that there is both good and difficult times that we are going through. Let us hold the unspoken joys and sorrows of this day, of this time, in our hearts together quietly.
Art thou troubled? Music will calm thee. Art thou weary? Rest shall be thine. Rest shall be thine. Music, source of all gladness, heals thy sadness. at her shrine. Music, music ever divine. Music, music calleth with voice divine. When the welcome spring is smiling, and the flowers of earth beguiling, after winter's weary rain, sweetest music doth attend her heavenly harmonies, doth lend her, chanting praises in her train, chanting praises in her train. Art thou troubled? Music will calm thee. Art thou weary? Rest shall be thine, rest shall be thine. Music, source of all gladness, heals thy sadness at her shrine. Music, music ever divine. Music, music calleth with voice divine.
Hi, it's Debbie, and I have a couple of readings. The first of which is Deal with God by Bob Janice Dillon. Sometimes I offer to make a deal with God. I'll tell you about my resistance to prayer, I say, if you explain the Holocaust. God declines to comment, and the lawyers make their prepared statements on his behalf. I kind of hate when he does that. I love God best, I confess, when I catch him slumped over the bar, his tongue soaked in whiskey, and the past and present oceans dribbling uselessly onto his shirt collar. I can forgive a God like that. And there is every chance that he might do the same for me. There is much that has happened. There is much, much to be forgiven, but nothing to be said. The next one is When Life is Messy by Richard S. Gilbert. It is easy to pray when the sun shines, and we are grateful for another glorious day of being. It is hard to pray when wind and rain and thunder plague our every step and spoil our every plan. It is easy to be virtuous when life goes well, and our existence is a journey from bliss to beauty and back. It is hard to be virtuous when life assaults us, and our very being is a pilgrimage from bad to worse to worst. It is easy to be cheerful when health bursts in us, so that we can feel the very pulse of life. It is hard to be happy when pain and fatigue beset us, and we wonder if we can go on. It is easy to do good when our goodness is rewarded, and we feel the power of pride in accomplishment. It is hard to do good when we suffer for our efforts and are troubled because we have been misunderstood. It is easy to feel religious impulses well up inside of us when inspiration lives at our elbow and walks on our path. It's hard to feel religious when we are tired with work to be done, and discouragement seems to mark our every move. O God of order and neatness, we give thanks for all that is good. We are grateful for manifold blessings bestowed upon us. O God of chaos and disorder, be with us also when life is messy. Bless our coming in and our going out from this day forth. This next reading is entitled, All Too Often We Pace the Geometries of Our Walled Gardens, by John Gibb Millspaugh. All too often we pace the geometries of our walled gardens, believing we are traversing the whole of creation. With spirits of discovery, let us uncover the mysteries nested in our routines. With the eagerness of children, let us seek out the secrets unfolding in our peripheral vision. Let us behold each fellow creature with reverence. Let us greet each day with praise and thanksgiving. For life is a gift of incomprehensible magnitude. Our lives are voyages with unknowable destinations. Along the way, let us meet, kiss, challenge, and support one another. Let us fashion a network of mutuality and extend it into the larger world. In these ways, we forge lives of goodness and beauty. In these ways, we know the life of prayer.
Did you, like me, go through a time earlier in your life when you believed what you had been taught, that God was somewhere overhead, out of sight, out of reach, but there, watching, like Santa Claus, listening, waiting to hear our prayers and then decide which ones to give an affirmative answer to? And did you, like me, sometime maybe just before puberty was too obvious, did you get the feeling that your prayers stopped at the ceiling? That there wasn't anyone listening? Or if they were listening, it didn't make any difference? In 2002, Suzy and Maggie Roach released an album that they titled Zero Church. It was named for the street address in Boston where a 6-week seminar took place that provided the lyrics for the album, then set to the music by the Roach sisters. The seminar had members of different faith traditions as well as those who were spiritual but not religious, and together they explored what prayer meant to them. The prayer Cromwell Shubarth contributed to that album and that effort struck me as one I could easily identify with as a former youth whose prayers got stuck at ceiling level. Shubarth told his childhood history of prayer like this. My parents had me recite every night the children's prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. I don't remember how old I was when that stopped, but it sure scared the hell out of me every night. I used to ask them if they really thought I was going to die. When they said no, I would say, then why am I praying? His prayer that the Roach sisters set to music went like this. Why am I praying? Who's going to hear? What I'm saying right now is from fear of nothingness and of everything, of not knowing enough, of learning too much, of being alone, of not having my space, of being naked in a crowd, or being clothed in disgrace. So this is what I pray, to be okay, to be with those I love, and to know what to say when I see whatever's above. A few years after I fell in love with the Zero Church album, I found affirmations. I encountered them, at least in a new way, with the posting of a video of a preschooler named Jessica standing on the bathroom vanity, looking in the mirror and telling herself in a sing-songy chant an affirmation in which she enumerates things and people in her young life. I like my whole house. I like my mums. I like my Allisons, using sounds like a plural, but it's just an affectionate term, mums and Allisons. I can do anything good. I can be a shark. and so on and so on. And soon after it was posted, Adam Cole, a clever musical Washington State high schooler, used Jessica's affirmation almost verbatim as the lyrics for an uplifting song that he wrote and posted on YouTube. I wasn't raised on affirmations per se, even though my mother would do something similar as she put inspirational Bible verses that reassured her that God loved her on note cards and tacked them up around the house, trying each day more fully to convince herself again that her core beliefs would support her living the best she knew how. In the Christian turn of phrase my mother knew and sometimes quoted, "Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief." My grandmother, my mother's mother, never tacked up affirmative Bible verses in that way, but then she always asserted that she had never doubted what her parents had taught her. I knew what affirmations were, and often they were something that was lifted up to be mocked in popular culture, even if it was gentle mockery. Remember the character Stuart Smalley, played by Al Franken on Saturday Night Live? I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Smalley was the kind of character who really tried to believe his positive self-messaging. But we got a pretty clear picture of that belief being something of a struggle for him. And third in the trilogy of spiritual practices that I wanted to think a little bit about this morning is meditation. In many Unitarian Universalist congregations, there are meditation groups. Some congregations where meditation in various forms is present in every circle, every gathering. Guided meditations build on greater or lesser amounts of creative construct, or silent Zen type meditation. Many congregations that used to be averse to the word prayer because of what they remember it to have implied in previous religious settings are more at ease often with the word meditation, whether or not it's something they do themselves. That word, choice of word, can make a difference sometimes in how a person perceives what's possible. For some people, it's just an easier word than the word prayer. So you have congregations where a prayer, an actual prayer, is introduced with an invitation into a time of prayer or meditation. Prayer or meditation. Here are these words that do this thing, but if you're uncomfortable, you can do something else in this time. As if to say, we're not going to say what we're doing here because there's a difference in understanding of the word. As if our faith required everyone to think the same way we individually do for all to be well in the congregation. But it does not depend on that unanimity of thinking and understanding. Because the words prayer, meditation, and affirmation have fuzzy boundaries sometimes and seem to mean different things, I wondered, as I was thinking about this service, if the differences make any difference. Are they really just interchangeable words, or do they actually kind of point to different intentions, different practices? I'm not talking about the kind of difference that can be parsed linguistically, looking for word origins or usage patterns through time. That might be interesting to a couple of us, but probably not to quite a few more. No, I'm talking about the question whether we can look past our religious and spiritualities, our spiritual perspectives, our spiritualities of origin, and understand these practices in life affirming ways from different theological or atheological perspectives. For a large part of Western civilization, the word prayer calls up the idea of talking, casually or formally, with a supernatural deity who hears, who has the power to respond, for example, with granting a request. And so, in the prayer from Zero Church that I mentioned, the whole point of the prayer is the question of what prayer offers to the one who prays if it is not addressed to God or a deity with similar qualities. But the prayer writer Cromwell Schubart's prayer came to the conclusion that it doesn't have to be addressed to the Most High to be a meaningful spiritual act. So this is what I pray, to be okay, to be with those I love and to know what to say when I see whatever is above. I don't know whether anyone is listening, but I've got these concerns, and whether or not there is a deity who hears my speaking my concerns is meaningful and worthwhile. If you will, the idea of prayer is the idea of something less cerebral, addressing something more so. A human may pray to a deity. A human heart may entreat another human, or indeed a human heart may entreat the same human being's mind. Maybe we would diagram this with a directional up arrow, a metaphorically directional up arrow. Affirmation, in contrast, would be a down arrow. It is the mind assuring the heart, reassuring that just as perhaps God would reassure a human being, it is that which is rational, shaping that which is raw and irrational in ways that produce desired results in the world on its terms. And finally, meditation isn't essentially directional like that. A guided meditation may well take you in your mind's eye down a path through a forest or across a desert, over a stream or into a cave, but it isn't about directing one part of the person to look elsewhere. Remember the reading a few weeks back about the head and the heart getting a divorce, and the speaker finds that that can be quieted, that conflict between head and heart can be quieted by following the gut's advice to visit the lungs. Meditation is more about being with the body, the breath, the present. A prayer is, at least in the West, most often expressed in words, even if said silently or only in one's mind. And affirmation, likewise, is a linguistic practice. It happens through words. But the one who meditates is not focused on words and meaning as such, but on a manner of being. Meditation can involve sitting on a cushion, legs in the lotus position, or it can be about a manner of engaging in an activity that for many people might not appear like a spiritual practice at all. Which you need varies from you to the next person, and it changes over time and with the changing of circumstances. Do you seek something from a different place in yourself? Do you intend to provide something to some different part of yourself? Or do you seek to practice becoming better at being without seeking or giving something? Many of us switch between these modes without spending much time on the vocabulary or how it relates to our long ago religious or spiritual life. Some center a God concept or a God being to facilitate this, and others do not. Either way is good. So as we go our ways in this time of heightened awareness and care, let's think about these spiritual practices as tools, as technologies, if you will, that help us make it through a complex and difficult time. Amen, and blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Monty, and I would like to invite you to join the UUFW Crop Walk team this year by making a contribution to the special collection of the month of September. You can find the UUFW team page on the website crophungerwalk.org. Again, that is crophungerwalk.org. And look for the UUFW team page. Money raised goes to support local efforts to alleviate hunger, such as the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, Meals on Wheels, and Disciples Kitchen. This is also a fundraiser for Church World Service, which is an agency that provides resettlement services for Afghans and other refugees in our area. As you are able, we would love to see you at the physical walk, which is on Sunday, September 26th. In the afternoon, we meet at the Pavilion at Ridgeview Park and do a 3-mile loop around the Waynesboro Greenway. This is an important public statement of support for these efforts. Again, we hope to see you there, and thank you for your support.
I'm grateful for the sun that shines. I'm grateful for the rain. And when life's bumps and life's bruises come, I'm grateful all the same. So just knowing I am a lonely soul, hand in hand with a world full of lonely souls, brings peace peace and love to my beating heart, and faith blooms in me again. I'm grateful for music that I may hear. I'm grateful for a tune. The songs that seem to flow through my mind like a river chasing the moon. So just knowing I am a lonely soul, hand in hand with a world full of lonely souls, brings peace and love to my beating heart, and faith blooms in me again. I'm grateful for a smiling face. I'm grateful to see you today. I'm grateful for nature around us all, and for feeling each joy and each pain. Somehow knowing we are all lonely souls, hand in hand with every lonely soul, brings peace and love to each beating heart, and faith blooms in us again. And what is this faith that I'm speaking of? It isn't in some old bearded man up above. It's music and poetry, beauty and love in all of us